Okay.
إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهم ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير قال
صدق الله العظيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إلى يوم الدين. You know, the theme of Surat Al-Hujurat is actually not a long surah. It's only 18 verses. But it is presented the Islamic moral code. And it encapsulates this framework of the Islamic moral code in these 7 issues or 7, elements. One of them is submitting to Allah and the commands, respecting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, handling information responsibly, managing conflict among believers, interacting with fellow believers, relationship with the humanity at large, and then recognizing the honor of being a Muslim. These are, as I said, it's a very, 18 verses, and look to what is the subject that is covered, And it's very, subhanAllah, like when I talk to the kids today about these, the most important, second important, it's just the verses in the Quran. If you read it, you can derive the principles of Islam very simply. And you become a perfect Muslim, actually, with it, without any complication, And here is a 18 verses, and it gives you all of the issues that how you interact with everybody, So the surah starts with, obviously, with the first one, which beginning with that means, you emphasize the importance of adhering to the commands of Allah, or you believe, do not set yourself ahead of Allah and His Messenger. And have taqwa. What does it mean, putting yourself ahead of Allah and His Messenger? Which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't do this. Which means you take your own opinion over the command of Allah or the command of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You decide, oh no, I don't know. This is not now you put yourself ahead of them. And Allah says, as a believer, that's not a character of a believer in this case. And here is, I want to highlight a point. This is Allah subhanahu, Allah and His Messenger. Allah is the message, the Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't live for 23 years, he didn't teach them anything. Then there was a teaching that the Prophet ﷺ told the companion too. So I feel sometimes that when people come and say, I'm going to rely 100% of the Quran, I'm going to ignore all of the hadith, it seems that there is a little bit, transgression here. Don't be this way, At least you say, okay, there is certain hadith I don't understand. Don't worry about them. Follow the hadith that you understand and logical for you. When the Prophet ﷺ, for example, says, whoever believes in Allah and Day of Judgment, he should say something good or be silent. Okay, isn't this is a wisdom? Am I going to reject this? I'm going to quote a verses from, you can quote verses from the Quran, the same thing, but the question is, it becoming a precise, short in a language that everybody can understand. So don't deprive yourself by making these views that none of the hadith is good. Just because if you do this, you advance your opinion over the opinion of Allah and His Messenger. So people have to be a little bit careful with this one. The second one is even talking, and this ayat represents a little bit of the culture that the Prophet ﷺ lived under. Because we notice from the comments of the Prophet ﷺ, many of them to change the culture of the society. Here Allah subhanahu says, يا أيها الذين لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول. That means that people used to raise your voice. Sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, they will fight with each other and raise their voice against each other. No respect for the person who's standing. Or they will raise their voice toward him. Why? He's sitting in front of you. Speak to him softly. So Allah subhanahu will discipline them, and we can take this to discipline if your children and your father, you should learn that don't fight with each other in front of your father. Don't keep shouting at your father or your mother. It's a command to them, but also we can apply it to ourselves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ also يُنَادُونَكَ مِنْ وَرَاءِ الْحُجُرَاتِ. This means that the people, and how tolerant, frankly, if you really think about it, how tolerant the Prophet ﷺ with the people around him. Obviously, not all of the companions this way, but some of them, they come from the desert and so on, and they really don't have the discipline. So here also said, okay, wait until he come out. Don't keep shouting to them, Ya Muhammad, come to us. We have a problem we need to talk to you about. So Allah subhanahu tried to discipline them. But the Prophet ﷺ did not. Here is the amazing part. The Prophet ﷺ doesn't tell them, don't do this. Because when it came to himself, he was so shy to advise people how to treat him. And there Allah subhanahu came and interfered in that regard. Because people have to learn that respect. Yes, he is shy. And this happened in so many other places, when people go visit him and don't, want to leave. And he's sitting in a room. He's not like sitting where we live here in so many rooms. They can sit in a special room. His wife is sitting in a corner. And people just because enjoying his company, they do not want to live. And he wouldn't tell them, go out now. So you find some of these ayat that do it, but we can take from it a lesson in this regard. And this is why also some of the companion and other would not raise their voice for example, in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. When they go in Medina, they wouldn't raise their voice because they said, yes, he might not be there, but he's buried there. And we should not raise your voice between each other or raise your voice in any other subject. The third command is very important, particularly, frankly, these days. Because now the information, they tell you now the sign of genius is not to know what information you miss. Don't know? No, the sign of genius is to know what information you do not need. Because the amount of information available to you becomes so vast that if you spend your time just trying to read whatever is available, you will never do anything other than sit down and read it. And so Allah subhanahu he says, if you get information from anyone, verify it. And the important part is the information is not necessarily the important of the character of the person. Because Allah subhanahu says, Ya ayyuha in ja'akum fasiqun binaba, that if a wicked person came to you with information, with certain report, fatabayyanu, then verify its correctness. Allah subhanahu didn't say reject it. Allah described him as a wicked person. So you should, if somebody tell you and he is a wicked person or a liar or sinful person, you don't listen to him. No. If it comes with certain news or something, verify it. Now, so we have now all of this social media that come to us, all of the hadiths that come to us. You don't even know who posted this. And people directly so quick with forwarding it. I said, subhanallah, social media, okay, the internet is great because you get so much information, but the internet is great also that you can verify the information. So don't forward any hadith of the Prophet ﷺ or anything about any information until you verify it first. And I guarantee you, a lot of time, things that you receive and you will be excited about it and you want to forward it and you find it is a false information. So the media is here that to do both of them. So be careful when you do this. And also try, to minimize, because forwarding things is like a speech. If I send you something and or take something I wrote and you forward to somebody, it's like you saying it in this regard. And the Prophet ﷺ has very interesting, important hadith. He said, whoever speaks too much, he will make mistakes. And whoever makes a mistake will accumulate sins. And whoever accumulates sins will be deserving the hellfire. Then the best way, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, he should say something good or be silent. Yeah. And that is the way, that's when I talked about the lahu this morning. The lahu, don't engage in any useless discussion, and don't waste your time listening to it too, in this regard. So the fourth one is really addresses a very tricky, subject. And at the end of it, I'm going to leave you with an assignment, okay, to do it. Here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about Muslim, like any other people, there will be a conflict between them. It can conflict between individuals. It could be conflict between families. It could be conflict between countries or organization and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, okay, how about there is two groups of conflicting with each other. What's your role? Are you just to forget, let them destroy each other? You have to take an action. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَإِن طَائِفَاتٍ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا, if there is two parties among the believer fight, what you do, أَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. First one, you make peace between them. Try to mediate, try to resolve the conflict. But if one of them become aggressive, what would you do? You stand against the aggressor until it stops, or he stops, or this whatever organization stops. And when they stops, then try to make peace. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا. That means make reconciliation with them with justice and equity. And frankly, the word أقسطوا, sometimes because adl qist is the same, but qist actually, adl you make the ruling. Qist you ensure the implementation of the ruling, of the just ruling. So aqsitu, that means if you said, okay, you have done this, therefore you have to pay this, you have to ensure that they compensate. The ruling that was made to resolve the issue with fairness, then they have to implement it. Because you can make any rules that you want, but nobody would listen to it. So the qist comes in with that implementation part. And Allah, inna Allah yuhibbul muqsitin, and in order to do the qist, you have to know the judge to be just, and you have to have the power to implement it. So that the qist is a little bit ahead of the just. You as a judge, you rule by justice, by equality. Treat people equal. But who enforces the ruling is the one who implemented that ruling. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you as a believer, you have ties more stronger than even the genetic or the ties between your family. It is the faith, is the belief. So إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Believer are but brothers. And that's why if you look at this ayah and you look to what's happening in the world, do you really see that we Muslims are brothers? Was two things. If you declare them as a believers, wait a minute. If Allah made the criterion, believers are brothers of each other. They do not abandon each other. Then if you look to what's happening now, you said, are they brothers? No, then they are not believers. I mean, subhanAllah, the principles of Islam is very simple, but we want to make it so complicated and worry about the fundamentals. This is the fundamental. إنما المسلمون إخوة is fundamental. You know, that you should, first of all, you don't abandon somebody who's your brother. And in the same time, if you see your brother are fighting with each other, you don't leave fighting. Don't just support because of ego, because of national interest or political interest or whatever it is. You find people in Sudan fighting with each other. What do you do? Group fight with the aggressor too. And this is brotherhood, or this is a sign of belief. And you talk about Libya, you talk about so many parts of the world, Muslim world. Then the fifth command from a moral character. Oh, let's at the end. At the end, yeah. Yeah, you insist. yeah, inshallah. So here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about how you treat each other. And this becoming, in fact, I gave this assignment to the kids once, because some of these commands kids use by calling other kids, with bad names or nicknames that they do not like, and so on. So Allah subhanahu has so many commands. Says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la yasghar qawman min qawmin. First of all, Allah subhanahu, if you look, and I want you to go read it, because I'm not going to go read the whole ayat because of time and because I want to cover the other one too. One, don't ridicule each other. Sometimes we do this by people trying to be funny. So you want to be funny, be fun on yourself. Don't try to pick on somebody else and make fun on him just to get a laugh from everybody. No, that's a prohibited from, if you are a believer in that case. Don't ridicule each other, because the guy, Allah subhanahu said, if you ridicule him, he might be better, in the sight of Allah and maybe in the sight of the people too. So who are you to ridicule anyone? And then the second, don't defame anyone, each other, And then also don't insult each other with offensive nicknames, ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم, don't defame each other. ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب, don't use this, bad nicknames that maybe the child when he was young, he is the parent, sometimes use silly names for the children. When he grow up, don't use this stupid name, particularly in front of a gathering, have a respect for him too. So don't use these nicknames that he doesn't like. And then also don't be suspicious. Don't also be suspect of people, واجتنبوا كثيرا من الذين اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. Don't have this suspicion about. ولا تجسسوا, also don't spy on each other. Don't try to look for other people's faults. Look at your own faults. Every one of us has enough. So don't look for others. ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا, and then don't backbite. And that's why the backbiting often happens in a social gathering. And that's why I said, watch for the social gathering. People start to talk, how they fill the time, talk about other people who are not there. So, and this is backbiting is important. And Allah subhanahu make it, backbiting is so bad that he said, do you want to love to eat the flesh of your brother alive? I mean, it's that bad that you speak behind the person back, something bad about him. And we'll define now when it comes, he said there was a part of the hadith. Define for me what's backbiting. Is backbiting to lie about him? No. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, backbiting to say something in him that he doesn't like to be said or he doesn't like to hear it. This is the backbiting. If you say something is not in him, that's a slander. So don't think that backbiting, what I'm saying this about this and this, it's in him, No, this is the backbiting. Good things, say it all the time, Okay, don't worry about this one. So And the Prophet ﷺ actually expanded on this by so many other, ahadith, which is almost like, a wisdom. The Prophet ﷺ said, glad tidings to the one whose preoccupation with his own faults and keep away from becoming concerned about other people's faults. And then in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, part of being a good Muslim is leaving what does not concern you. If something is not important to you, just skip it. And then the hadith about defying the backbiting. He said, a person, a companion, Abu Dharr, asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is backbiting? He said, they tell you mention about your brother something which he dislikes. He said, well, so Abu Dharr said, what if it's true? He said, this is the backbiting. If it is not true, you have been slandering him. So backbiting is to say something in the person, but he does not like anybody to say it about him. So to the point, actually, some of the companions, and they said, Aisha said, if you backbite during the fast, you invalidated your fast and you have to pray it, to repeat it. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said backbiting is like eating the flesh. So you broke your fast already by eating, something, although it's not a physical thing. There is also another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which, it's very important, and we should say it to our children always, which is beware of anything that you do that you need to apologize for. This is something, وَإِيَّاكَ وَمَا يُعْتَذَرُ مِنْهُ. So tell your kids that don't do anything that if you get caught, then you have to say, I'm sorry for it. And that should be actually something that's so important, particularly for children, to do it. Then the sixth moral command or code, part of the code, is the relationship with the humanity at large. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل تعارفوا. O mankind, indeed you have been created you from a single male and single female. We all know, all of the Abrahamic religion know that we are created from one man, Adam, and one woman, Hawa, and we came, this way, and we became tribes and so on. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to know each other. And Allah said the criteria. He said the best of you, yes, you are in ranks, but how Allah rank us? Based on our taqwa. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Not the best of us who has more knowledge, not the best of us who have more money, not the best of us who has more power. No, the best of us who have more taqwa. Now we can look and define, and when I look to the terminologies, we can look what is a taqwa is and how you can assess. So the last one, which is something, you might think it doesn't happen. What's people when they say, isn't it enough for me to be a Muslim? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَمْنُونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَامُوا. They consider they have done you a favor by accepting Islam. قال لا تمنوا علي إسلامك. Don't do this. Don't claim that you are doing me a favor by being a Muslim. It's Allah is the one who did you a favor, that you became a Muslim, that guided you to the belief. Does this happen? Have you ever witnessed this happen? It happened. I actually witnessed it one time. Witnessed when a woman, she was married from a Pakistani man, and she was non-Muslim, and she became a Muslim. So you can say, I'm not going to marry unless you become Muslim. And she used to say, well, it's enough for me, I'm become a Muslim. Basically, she was doing this as a favor to him. So you probably never saw a situation like this, but at least don't let anyone tell you, if you said, oh, it's enough that I do this. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who blessed you, guided you to the Iman, gave you the power. It's like you're coming to the Fajr. If Allah did not want you to come to the Fajr, you wouldn't come to the Fajr. So it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He get us to wake up early and come here. So it is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not our favor that we go to the masjid and pray for Him. No, that's not our favor. It's His favor that He allowed us to do this. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant us the wisdom and dedication to adhere to these prescribed moral codes. Here is the assignment, since Brother Ahid anxious for it. In this first, by the way, this is posted in the website. So, I mean, you can go to the website and do it. Unfortunately, I don't know how to post the PowerPoint. I could have done it, but if somebody's expert, I'd be glad to give it to him. We just read the verse about two believers, two parties of the believer are fighting with each other. Okay, then what you do, you have to reconcile and so on. Okay, but there is another ayah, which في سورة النساء, ما كان المؤمن, ما كان أن يقتل مؤمنا إلا خطأ. That a believer, it is not allowed for a believer to kill another believer except by mistake. And Allah subhanahu من قتل مؤمنا خطأ, whoever kill a believer, خطأ, then that will happen. But then comes in and talk ومن يقتل مؤمنا متعمدا, the red one here. So when if you make a mistake, you're like a car accident, for example, you're driving and hit somebody accidentally by car, then there is a compensation for it. You didn't intend to kill him. But if you kill him متعمدا, if you kill him intentionally now, like we see the wars that's happening in Sudan or in Libya or was in Syria or was it in Yemen or Saudi Arabia, now or even in Iraq, I don't know, even wherever in Afghanistan, you really can name all of the Muslim world has this. And Pakistan. What Allah, look at this. Whoever kill one intentionally, what is their jaza? Jahannam khalidan fiha. That means he will be eternal in the hell. Not enough. وَغَضِبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ, and Allah is angry from him. So the first one, he is guaranteed Jahannam. Allah is angry from him. وَلَعَنَهُ, and Allah cursed him that he is away from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah وَأَعَدَّ لَهُ عَذَابًا عَظِيمًا, and he prepared for him a tremendous punishment. So not only he will go to hell, but there is a severer punishment also for him in hell. That means, the life of believer related to other believer is sacred. How come we kill each other with that ease these days? So I'm saying what is the assignment for you is to reconcile these two verses. Because people take, when you raise this verse from Surah Al-Nisa, they come and say, but they still believers. Okay, because the ayah in Surat Al-Hujurat say, if they اقتتلوا, then how you resolve this? So that is your assignment that Ahid has been anxious, to look at it, to do it, because one of them, if they're fighting with each other and killing each other, then they will all go to hell. Then what are you going to reconcile about? They have to stop it before they kill each other. So اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى أنوار العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم فضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. ربنا أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم اصلح لنا في ذرياتنا إنا تبنا إليك وإننا من المسلمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aisha Wani, our grandson Is. Oh Allah, grant all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren in Palestine and many parts of the world who are facing barbaric enemies, unjust world, and complacent Muslim nation. Oh Allah, heal their trauma, protect their helpless, grant them lasting peace and prosperity, and fulfill their need. Oh Allah, we ask with every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih, ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.